All right. So, yeah, let's face it, we've all kind of wondered at some point, right? Like, is my thing with alcohol? Is it just me? Is it normal? And you brought in something about this, about drinking habits and when it's maybe a problem, which is smart. Because whether it's, maybe you're a little worried about yourself or just curious about this stuff, we're going to break it down. So at least you're informed, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things people have a lot of questions about but don't always, feel comfortable asking.
Totally. And this source jumps right in, gives signs of maybe drinking too much, but keeps it like, not too medically, which I
Sure.
appreciate. But one of them is, get this, feeling depressed when not drinking. So that's beyond just like, ugh, hungover.
Oh, absolutely. That gets into using alcohol to deal with emotions, which, can be a bit of a slippery slope.
For sure. And then there's this whole like hiding your habits thing. Okay, we've all maybe stashed a beer bottle
Yeah.
so our roommate's not like, again. But this source is saying being secretive, that's a whole other flag maybe.
Yeah, it can be. Like, it's one thing to not want judgment, but when it's secretive, there might be some, shame mixed in there, which is a sign to pay attention to.
And speaking of things we tell ourselves are fine, right? High tolerance. You'd think, oh, I can handle my liquor. That's good, right? You're saying no.
It's a really common misconception. Like, some of it's genetics, how you break down alcohol, but tolerance is your body getting used to needing more to get the same effect, which is actually bad news. It's not a superpower. It's your body going, uh-oh, getting used to something I shouldn't.
Like needing more to feel it. Not a brag. It's a warning. Makes those old drinking game stories a lot less fun in retrospect.
Right. And the more tolerant you become, the more you need, and that's where those scary health risks come in. And we're not just talking liver here. This source lists like accidents, STDs, even cancer. Why so many risks from one thing?
Yeah, that list got intense. Like, okay, most people know heavy drinking bad for your liver, but it's not just about that, right? How's alcohol messing with the rest of your body?
Think of it this way. Alcohol isn't just chilling in your liver. It goes everywhere. So yeah, the liver takes a beating, but the impact's system-wide. Like your immune system, alcohol weakens it, so you're more likely to get sick.
So getting a cold after a big night out, not just a coincidence. Your body really is weaker.
Exactly. And then there's the brain. Alcohol messes with your judgment, your coordination, how fast you react, which is like disaster fuel, right? Hence the accidents, whether it's driving or just you're clumsy because you're not thinking straight.
Wow, I never connected those dots like that. It's kind of terrifying when you lay it out. And it's not just the morning after, right? This is long-term damage we're talking.
Yeah, the longer this goes on, the more those risks add up. It's the like cumulative effect over time that really gets you.
Okay, so this is where it gets real. The source, it separates having a drinking problem from full-blown alcoholism.
Mm.
And that line is blurry for a lot of people, I think. Break that down for us.
It's an important difference. And yeah, it can be confusing. It boils down to control. Drinking problem, it's about unhealthy habits. But alcoholism, what's clinically called alcohol use disorder, it's about loss of control.
So less about how much you drink, more about the WHY and how it's messing with your life.
Exactly. It's like overspending is bad, but it's different from being trapped in debt, right?
Right.
Both are serious, but different levels. Drinking problem, alcoholism, both need attention, even if they don't look the same from the outside.
Okay. Yeah, the debt thing, that makes sense. So how do you know if you've crossed that line then? Like, what does a drinking problem even look like compared to, full-blown alcoholism?
It's about, I think, recognizing those unhealthy patterns, right?
Hmm.
So someone with a drinking problem, they might be using alcohol to cope with stress a lot, even if it leads to fights with their partner or they're like screwing up at work. They might even feel kind of bad about it, the drinking, but still can't seem to cut back.
So they know it's not great, but they're not, like, off the deep end yet.
Yeah. Whereas someone with alcoholism, they might be blacking out regularly, not taking care of their responsibilities, or even getting like withdrawal symptoms when they try to stop. They might desperately want to quit, but just feel totally powerless.
Okay, wow, yeah, that's different.
Yeah.
And this source, it talks about alcoholism having these stages. Is that like everyone goes through them like clockwork, or is it more, I don't know, nuanced?
That's a good question. I'd say it's more like a spectrum than a staircase. Everyone's experience is going to be unique, right? Some people might fly through certain stages, others get stuck, some even like circle back.
So comparing yourself to someone else is probably not the move.
Exactly. It's got to be about your relationship with alcohol specifically. And that's where knowing yourself is huge. And honestly, that takes us back to those early signs we talked about. If you're not real with yourself about your habits, it's easy to just brush off those red flags,
Yeah. Can't fix what you don't acknowledge,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Speaking of fixing, This source mentions something called alcoholic ketoacidosis, which sounds scary. What even is that?
So alcoholic ketoacidosis, it's a pretty serious metabolic thing basically that can happen with heavy drinking, especially if they're not eating enough. It's like your blood chemistry gets way out of whack.
Intense. What are the, like, if someone's worried about that, what should they even be looking for?
Well, the source lists stuff like abdominal pain, feeling agitated or confused, fatigue, moving really slowly. You might also see irregular breathing, not wanting to eat, nausea, vomiting, and, decreased alertness to the point of even slipping into a coma. It's serious stuff. So if you see any of this, especially in someone who's been drinking heavily, get medical help immediately. Like call 911, get to the ER, don't mess around.
Not a wait and see situation. This is serious.
Not at all. Early intervention for alcoholic ketoacidosis is absolutely critical.
Okay. Heavy stuff. It's a good reminder that this isn't just about like having a good time. It's about understanding the actual risks here. We've covered a lot signs of a problem, the drinking problem versus alcoholism thing, the stages, and even these serious health risks. But the source also kind of hints at something else I think is worth getting into, how alcohol use impacts society as a whole.
It's something people don't always think about, for sure. We tend to see it as this individual thing, my choices. But the ripple effect is way bigger than that.
Yeah, it's like that saying, it's all fun and games until.
Exactly. And the source, while it's great on the personal level, it only briefly touches on those broader societal impacts, and that's something I think worth a deeper look.
So we've like gotten into how alcohol messes with us personally.
Yeah.
But what about that bigger picture you mentioned, the whole like societal impact thing?
Right. So think about it. Alcohol-related accidents, injuries, huge strain on healthcare right there. Then there's the economic side, people missing work, even dying because of alcohol-related stuff. That's productivity down the drain.
Yeah, it's not like those are the only costs, right?
Not at all. You've got the social costs, the families dealing with addiction, the strain on communities. It adds up.
It's like this whole ripple effect we don't always see until it's, huge GE.
Exactly. And those ripples, they go far. Increased crime, domestic violence, it all ties in. It's messy, no easy answers.
Man, this is a lot to process. We went from like, am I drinking too much?
Yeah.
To like these huge societal problems.
It is a lot, but that's kind of the point of knowledge, right? It
Yeah.
lets us make better choices for ourselves, A&D, as part of the bigger picture.
So true. Like knowing all this makes you think twice about that next beer.
Yeah.
It's not just me, it's this whole chain reaction.
And that's powerful because it means we've got to be thoughtful about our choices, A&D, support people who are struggling because it affects more than just them.
For sure. And to anyone listening, if any of this hit home, there's an IS help out there. People who get it.
Yeah.
Don't wait to reach out. Okay.
Couldn't agree more. Asking for help is huge, and it can change everything. No shame in it at all.
Seriously. Well, this has been eye-opening for sure. Crazy how much we got from just this one source, right?
Yeah.
So our listener who brought this to us, thank you, you. It's something that touches everyone in some way. And hey, remember, knowledge is power. So until next time, keep those questions coming. We'll keep diving deep.